who are on the road must have a code that you can live by, and so become yourself, because the past is just a goodbye. Teach your children well, their father's hell will slowly go by, and feed them on your dreams, the one they picks, the one you know by. Don't you ever ask them why, if they told you you would cry, so just look at them and sigh, and know they love you. And you of tender years can't know the fears that your elders grew by, so please help them with your youth. They seek the truth before they can die. Teach your parents well, their children's hell will slowly go by, and feed them on your dreams, the one they picks, the one you know by. Don't you ever ask them why, if they told you you would cry, so just look at them and sigh, and know they love you.
Good morning, and welcome to the virtual Sunday service of the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Elkhart. We are a welcoming community, encouraging religious freedom, nurturing individual spiritual and ethical growth, celebrating diversity, promoting a just and sustainable world. My name is Ryan Gill, and I'm a member of the board of this congregation. Welcome to you all, and thank you for tuning in today.
Good morning, and thank you for worshiping with us this morning. We are the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Elkhart. My name is Amy Kaliza DeBeck. My pronouns are she, her, and hers, and it is a privilege to serve this congregation, and I'm so happy that you could all be with us this morning. I have a few announcements for our congregation that you're welcome to hear. We're going to hold in our hearts everyone who has COVID, is recovering from COVID, or whose loved ones have had it or are going through it now. We lift up Tom, Sherry, Pat, Chloe, so many others. We also hold in our hearts Linda Becker's father, Warren, who died. She will not be able to see him, but did recently. Linda, our hearts are with you. I hope that all of you have a safe week. Vaccinations are coming. More and more of you are telling me about your vaccines, and I'll be finding out, as Indiana has recently ruled that clergy are essential workers. I'll be finding out my own date soon. Thank you for being with us today.
We ring the gong 3 times, once for those who have come before and build a place for us. Once for those who are here now. And once for those who will come after us and build on the dream. Our chalice lighting is by Joseph M. Cherry. If we have any hope of transforming the world and changing ourselves, we must be bold enough to step into our discomfort, brave enough to be clumsy there, loving enough to forgive ourselves and others. May we, as a people of faith, be granted the strength to be so bold so brave, and so loving.
Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its law. To dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. This is our covenant.
In June of 2019, I imagined what I might do in the upcoming church year that runs July 1 to June 30. I usually have an annual focus for myself that in past years has included things like getting to know more about the new sanctuary movement, or getting back to my roots of being a youth counselor at a retreat center in Maine that we love. That June, all I could really think about was how sad and angry and helpless I felt over the direction our national government was going, and how it was adversely affecting so many people, even some people who I love. Prayer came to mind. See, I have a good relationship with prayer, even if it's not the usual way that people imagine pastors and prayer. I don't believe that prayer changes the mind of God, because the God of my understanding is not personified, and therefore doesn't have a mind. My prayers are for the universe. God doesn't have a mind and doesn't have some kind of plan. Prayer changes who we are, not God's mind. When I say, I will pray for you, I will. All of the imagery and love in my mind's eye and in my heart flow out into the universe as loving, healing energy. Prayer changes the prayer. Sometimes prayer looks like action, like when people knit or crochet prayerfully. I decided that the one glaring sin in the world that I simply could not live with is that our government was separating children from their parents at the Mexican-U.S. border. I went to lectures and workshops and advocacy meetings for letter writing campaigns. I attended a fundraiser and lecture from the Southern Poverty Law Center. They have attorneys, some specializing in immigration and others doing research and footwork, set up near each camp. I prayed about it, and I came to the decision that rather than joining an organization, I would spend 1 hour each week putting prayer into action, bearing witness to this atrocity. This was a personal plan for me to sharpen my focus on the power of prayer through action. I would hold witness against kids in cages. I knew that in itself it would not set them free. So I announced to UUFE that I would be at Elkhart Civic Plaza on Sundays from 2 o'clock to 3 o'clock in the afternoon for a year. Anyone who wanted to join me was welcome, and I did not assign it to some committee or have any sign-up sheets. I really needed to see how a year of prayer in action might direct or change or inform the process. This morning I want to share a few lessons from that year that definitely did direct, change, and inform me, and I learned to trust the process. Maybe some of my fellow witnessers feel that too. I'm relieved to be able to preach to you about this today because I personally felt that I did not want to share it until there was some glimmer of hope. On Wednesday, January 20th, one of the first, if not the first, executive order signed by President Biden is that our government will work to reunite the families who were separated while fleeing or immigrating. Now I can tell you a few of the lessons we learned, and maybe some of my comrades will want to get together and do another talk about this at a later date. The Elkhart Civic Plaza has red metal picnic tables on cement by a clock tower, and it's right next to the block that inhabits the Lerner Theater, inhabits. The sign I made said, "Close the camps." Big letters, simple to read if you're in a passing car. That first Sunday, there were 6 folks besides Kevin and me. Most weeks, I had at least one comrade, sometimes more, and often I was alone. Signs others brought, which you will see in a video after the sermon, said things like, "Families belong together," "Protect all children," and so forth. Some were handmade and some professionally printed from large protests. Over the course of 52 Sundays, we talked and laughed. We met several folks walking around downtown. We answered hundreds of questions about the existence of camps, which many folks did not know about, and we got used to seeing the police look at us. In no particular order, here are some things that happened. Here are some lessons we learned. In spring 2020, some of the homeless guys who were used to us asked which camps we meant. I explained that they are on our southern border and they are full of children. They were sad, but also relieved. They had assumed we were trying to close down the tent city nearby, where homeless people like them lived, gathered for safety in numbers. After that meeting, I retired my Close the Camp sign in favor of no kids in cages. I prayed to be approachable so that my mistakes and ignorance would not harm more people. I expressed gratitude in prayer for them finding courage, even in their oppression and misery, to advocate for themselves. I don't want to make some kind of list about who participated, because inevitably I will forget somebody. But some folks walked across my memory and through my fingers as I wrote this. In the deep heat of August, I learned that you want Kara Lee to come with you anywhere, because at any time she might reach into her magic bag and produce frozen slushies and spoons for everyone there. Bazinga, the dog, frequently came with Laura, and sometimes he had a sign which read, "I am treated better than the kids in camps." One woman named Michelle had heard about our witness when she attended a women's march, and she just showed up several times. She had a lot of innovations, like a blanket. Even when we had on coats, it kept us warmer. She had the innovation of little parasols or umbrellas when it got real windy downtown on the street. But her biggest innovation that she brought was waving to the cars going by, because we got more notice. Raising awareness of a problem can be prayer in action. One week, I was just gabbing freely, as I do often, about how much I love going to Michigan City to have personal retreats. An immigrant I know spoke up and said that maybe someday that is what Michigan City would be for them, but right now it is where they have to go to keep their papers frequently registered to avoid deportation. More prayers were sent to heal me from ignorance and for power to use my privilege for good. Jackie was probably my most frequent comrade, not including my constant partner, Kevin. Jackie came every other week when she had Sunday off from work and could be there. Together we acted prayerfully with so many others over the year. Janelle, Annette, Zanzer, Bill Sweet before he died, the Claibornes, City Councilman Fish and his wife Oksana, some of our youth and young adults. Leon attended his first protest with us when he was about a year old, and like I said, so many others worked to raise awareness of our national sin. But while we were on the plaza, we met so many fellow travelers who did not come with us, but met us. One Sunday, we all met Wesley, and then he showed up at UUFE. I hope to see you again sometime, Wesley. A couple of best friends who were out walking around day drinking for one of their birthdays engaged in spirited discussion with us. We all became friends on the Pokemon Go app. We met an immigrant from Germany on a bike who expressed that concentration camps are a terrible way for a government to treat people. One Sunday when I was by myself, I met a man in very fresh grief. He told me that he was in town because his Nana had died. I admit, I expected to be asked for money, and I stood there waiting. I expressed condolences. He stood there. I stood there. And then he said, I should have been there. Pastorally, I said, when it's a person's time, it's time, and I'm sure that you couldn't have done anything. He cried as he said, that she was expecting him there, but his car broke down, and that he has training in CPR, and actually he probably could have saved her. Well, more prayers to cause no harm. And then we prayed together. One of the downtown Elkhart people we met expressed a need to get to family in another town. His need was so specific that rather than giving him cash on hand, we talked a little more, we learned his name, and we bought him a train ticket. We delivered it to him at Faith Mission. He was there when he said he would be there, and I hope he got on that train. We can all pray that he had a happy family reunion. As COVID came upon us, things changed. We wore masks and we had extras to hand out, and more prayers were sent for kids in camps during a deadly pandemic. The city took away the picnic tables, and I wondered, where do people go who count on having a safe public place to be during the day? I agree with the safety measures, but I still pray for the vulnerable among us who, while they may be better off than kids in cages, are still in harm's way. As it got close to the election primaries, we would talk about that with people we encountered. One man explained that his friend's mother let him use her mailing address because he had none. He was really happy that he was able to vote and that he had an address. More prayers for no harm. As spring turned to summer, COVID raged on Elkhart, and we did not want to encounter unmasked people, whether they were walking to the learner or living on the street. We devised the plan of parking across the street and holding our signs up by the car, where passing cars could still see us, but we would not meet up with possibly infected, unmasked people. It was safe and necessary, but also I really missed talking with the passers-by and meeting all of our fellow Elkhartians. The summer of 2020 saw many Black Lives Matter protests, even one in Elkhart. It seemed like awareness was rising of the oppression of people of color, and prayers were sent frequently for love and no harm to everybody, everywhere, and for no kids in cages. But the other thing that happened as the one-year anniversary loomed is that anger, hostility, and hatred rose and became more public. Sitting out on the plaza had always left us vulnerable, but until then, hostility aimed at us or at me, when I was by myself, had been limited to intimidating stares or revved engines. As we leaned against the car with signs, openly in the street, but safely within a parking space, more often each week, trucks with Confederate flags or other flags that support fascism became menacing to the point that I feared they would run us over. All over the country, there were stories of this happening, of people using their vehicles to harm others. Sadly, the last couple weeks, it was just Kevin and me in my car. We would prop the sign pointing out toward traffic in the rear window and then sit in the car prayerfully from 2 to 3 p.m. Our witness went from July 7th, 2019 to July 12th, 2020. Prayers were shared and sent, bonding happened, and some ignorance yielded to enlightenment. I would do it all over again. And I pray that there never be the need to do anything like that ever again. May each of us pray for peace in whatever fashion opens our hearts and causes no harm. Close the camps, President Biden. And thank you, Carl, for providing the soundtrack for the video that follows. Blessed be, and amen.
Come gather round, people, wherever you roam, and admit that the waters around you have grown, and accept it that soon you'll be drenched to the bone. If your time to you is worth saving, so you better start swimming or you'll sink like a stone. Times they are a-changin'. Come writers and critics who prophesy with your pen, keep your eyes wide, the chance won't come again. Don't speak too soon, for the wheel's still in spin, and there's no telling who that it's naming. For the loser now or later to win, for the times they are a-changin'. Come mothers and fathers throughout the land, don't criticize what you can't understand. Your sons and your daughters are beyond your command. Your old road is rapidly aging. Please get out the new one if you can lend a hand, for the times they are a-changin'. Come senators, congressmen, please heed the call. Don't stand in the doorway, don't block up the hall. For he who gets hurt will be he who has stalled. There's a battle outside and it's raging. It'll soon shake your windows and rattle your walls, for the times they are a-changin'. The line it is drawn, the curse it is cast. The slower now will later be fast, as the present now will later be past. The order is rapidly fading. The first one now will later be last, for the times they are a-changin'. The times they are a-changin'. The times they are a-changin'.
I'm so glad that you were with us today, and I hope that you'll watch our services, and when we have an occasional Zoom service, I hope that you'll join in with that too. Our benediction today is from Frederick Gillis, and he says, "May the love which overcomes all differences, which heals all wounds, which puts to flight all fears, which reconciles all who are separated, be in us and among us now and always. Blessed be. Amen. Go in peace."